money supersized. G5 super fly, should be supervised. Do or die, open up your eyes, head to the sky. Keep a mean bad mommy on the side. Make a tsunami, kamikaze on the mind. Spit flow, paparazzi flash shine. Get dough, champagne, Merlot. Cash and tango, in the VIP. Now she wanna touch her ankle. Get low, mueve mami como el dembow. All eyes on me, peeping through the window. Get mine, get yours, believe it or not. In the meantime, I'ma keep my eyes on the top.
All eyes on me, drinks on me, girls on me, on the dance floor. All eyes on me, who is he? Man, you better come get your girl dog. All eyes on me, party like a rock star. You can find me in VIP. All eyes on me, yeah, where the girls are. This is how your nights will be.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new season 5 of the ME Show. And I am Ali Mehdaoui, aka your strategic partner. And today we have an episode that you're going to want to take some notes for. Today is a milestone because the gentleman that you're going to be hearing from is extremely decorated as a true service public servant. And this gentleman has had not only a career in politics, but he also decided on taking things from a private sector to serve in a different way. And I am so excited just because of his core values. I remember when I came to the United States in June 20th, 2002, I fell in love with America. I fell in love with its great values. I fell in love with how you can do anything that you put your mind into. I fell in love how you can be resilient and you can fight and you can make it. But there are certain core values that I still believe in, and I'm still in love with, that this country has instilled within me, of family, of spiritual liberty with spiritual strength, such as understanding who we are as a people. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things left and right that are changing some of the narrative. And look, it's between you and your creator. I love you for who you are, and God bless you. But I am so excited to hear not only about his story, but to also hear about his vision of what our country is looking like, and his expertise on how it can be what we know it to be, the greatest country in the world. Now, I can talk about it because I lived and was born in a third world country. I lived and visited and been in 15 different countries. I've seen and I experienced life and people. I speak 5 international languages, which allowed me to truly engage with the world and hear what they feel and how they operate and what do they see as the United States of America. The leader of the free world is here and forever will be. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited not only to bring before you a gentleman who was the representative of the 14th Congressional District of the great state of Illinois, but he has sponsored multiple bills. He has helped pass many relevant and incredibly impactful bills. He already has established a legacy. He's a family man. He's a man of faith, and he is, for once, in the very first time, and I'm so excited not to go all a fan on this gentleman, but Representative Randy Hultgren has been an incredible human being, giving me the exclusive to have him for the very first time right here, right now on the ME Studios. Sir, welcome, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to have you here with us on the show.
Wow. I hope my mom was listening, because that was really good. So I had to tell her sometimes when I was serving in politics, not to look at Facebook. What they were saying was not true. But I'll say, hey, Mom, you got to listen to Ali. So thank you. That is very kind. What a privilege. So good to be with you. I love your story, and just proud of you, proud of your family. Got to meet quickly your son, and just a fan of you.
Yeah, you made his day.
He made my day. So
for those who may be wondering, a little bit of context. So I've been bragging about former Representative Hultgren for a couple of days now in the House, and my 7-year-old is asking, is like, well, what is representative and what is Congress? And so I start explaining to him. He's like, you mean he worked with the president of the United States? I'm like, yes, you can say that. It's like colleagues? I'm like, yes. So he's been starstruck. There's only one thing he was disappointed about. he actually thought you were going to be physically with us in the studio. So he was so
We
looking
can make
forward.
that happen. We'll do that. That'll be
I
the
told him,
follow-up.
I was like,
Let's start coming.
look, son, come in, you can say hello, and then we'll work on making sure that we are physically together.
We'll
Well, I cannot stress enough that I am so grateful on behalf of the masses that don't even understand the impact that you've already put on their lives, because to make a decision to say, hey, I have a beautiful career, or I have a healthy life on the private sector, and say, now I'm going to put myself in scrutiny and not sleep, and no matter what I do, get half of my constituents mad at me. That takes a lot of guts. So why don't we start with just hearing a little bit about your story and how you kind of got into the politics, if you will, and I'm sure we can dig some fun conversations out of it.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, Ali. And I love it. Together, you and I, we talked about this, that together you and I speak 5 languages.
Yes, we do.
I speak 1, you speak 5, so we got it. So anyhow,
combined.
I'm jealous. I am so jealous. But no, what a great privilege. I love this country, just as you have said. And I think you are just this, you and your family, you and your wife, your story is what the American dream is all about.
Yep.
This idea that it's always been this power where people who are willing to give of themselves, put themselves out there, take a step of faith, take a risk, can have incredible impact. I think back to my great-grandparents. I've got a picture of my great-grandpa on my desk. I never got to know him. He died before I was born. But he came from Sweden back a little over 100 years ago with nothing when he was 18 years old, with the dream of making a better life for himself, but more importantly, for his kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. My great-grandpa came to Chicago, ended up getting a job as a doorman at a place called Marshall Field's. It was a department store in Chicago that was pretty famous. Now it's Macy's, but he was a doorman for 55 years, opening up doors for people. And he was opening up doors for me, that I think about what he did, what this idea of people, being willing to leave everything that is known and comfortable to them to come to someplace new, to build something that they're just not sure where it's going to go. But it was my great-grandpa and great-grandma and all these people. And everybody has stories like this, where coming to this country to pursue a better life, certainly for themselves, but also more importantly, oftentimes for their kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. So I've loved this country. I've seen it my own folks. I grew up in small business. My family is in the funeral business, which is a challenging business, helping people through the most difficult times of their life, losing a loved one. And yet I'm so proud of my family. Literally, I grew up upstairs from the family funeral home. We all worked at it. We all helped out. It was all a part of our lives. But this recognition that death is hard. It's a reality. We're all going to face it. You better be ready for it. You better think about what the plan is when it happens. But that, you've got to have someone you can trust when you go through that. And so super proud of my family for doing that. But I think all of this really led for me a passion to serve, that this idea of freedom and opportunity isn't free, that many people, women and men, have died for this freedom that we enjoy in this country. And we need to be willing to be engaged. And so it really was that driving factor for me to decide. It was a big decision for my wife and I and our 4 kids to decide to run for Congress. I was serving in our state legislature, which was a big commitment as well, but not the same level. So it literally had to give up my job, give up my career, give up my work to be able to run for Congress, and then spent a lot of time away from my family for those 8 years that I had the privilege of serving. But again, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was the greatest honor of my life. Able to do a lot of really important things as far as legislation that we passed. Thank you for your recognition on that. But I would say, honestly, the thing that I'm most proud of is just helping families in my district who were stuck, who they just felt like there was no place else to go. They were frustrated with this red tape of government and not sure what to do. And we were able to lean in and help them. It might have been an immigration issue, a pension issue, a social security issue, all these different things that were out there. But to be able to help people, it was such a great privilege. And then, I think about it too. I was just talking with some people when I was there, and I think it's maybe changed, but, I was there 2010 to 2018. And, in the history of our country. It's about 11,000 people when I was there that had the privilege of serving as a member of the House of Representatives to serve in Congress. So to think about in our history as a country, to be a part of one of about 11,000 people, what a great honor. And I would think about it every time I'd walk over to the Capitol to vote, that this is a great country, that someone like me, a funeral director's kid, that could be able to grow up to serve and to represent 750,000 people, to be their voice in this government. What a wonderful place, wonderful privilege. And again, it's important for all of us. Not all of us are called to run for office. I felt called to run. I literally did. But I think all of us, I know all of us have this responsibility. Benjamin Franklin talked about it walking out of the Constitutional Convention. A woman asked him what kind of government we have. And he said, it's a republic if you can keep it. So it's this idea that the representative form of government, but we have to be engaged if we're going to keep it. It's not always going to be exactly how we want it. People who are imperfect people, but we've got to be engaged. We absolutely have to vote. We've got to be educated and then get out and vote because that's our responsibility. Literally, people have fought and died for our responsibility and right to be able to vote for this representative form of government that we have.
There's first of all, God's got a very funny way to, you've mentioned your family was in the funeral home business. My extended father-in-law unfortunately just passed this morning at 3:30 in the morning.
I'm so sorry.
He is celebrating a lot more than you and I could ever celebrate.
I know. That's great. I love it. I agree with you. So
he's with the good Lord, right? Like their party is a whole kind of different level right now. So we are. We hate the fact that we won't physically see him, touch him, love him, right? But at the same exact time, our family is very spiritual, and we're may his soul rest in peace. Pablo Laverde, we will forever love you. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing his business shirt just to honor him.
Now I'm thinking about you and your family during this time, because it's always hard, even at that. But it's a difficult thing. But it's great to have that hope.
I got the privilege and the opportunity to give him a foot massage all the way till it was time to say goodbye, because that's literally what he asked for. He goes like, can you help me with my feet? And I'm holding these feet, and he's like, that feels good. And I'm like, wait, the massage? He's like, yes. And I just kept on giving him a massage. But he'll be forever missed and loved. But it's I'm coming in here directly from the family, and we had a day, you reflect and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, get yourself together. It's showtime. And, in a moment, I'm like, funeral home. Oh, my God. Yes. Sorry. My brother-in-law is making the phone calls right now. But it's a good thing. Trust me. God's got a funny way to keep him in your mind, right?
That's right. I love it.
The second thing you've mentioned is the importance to honor our responsibility and to vote. We are more polarized than ever as a country, regardless of what party you belong to. It's borderline scary, to be honest with you, how people are willing to just fall for conformity and ignore whether it's facts or just debatable conversations that may be healthy to identify or look at things from different vantage points. What is your message to us as people, as someone who was in the inside of Washington and where a lot of people are either losing faith in government, losing hope that government is gonna make a difference, and or there is the light on at the end of that tunnel, and have faith and vote. What is your message to the masses? Just while we are on that topic of a major political campaign that is happening right now.
Well, it is, don't give up. This still is a wonderful country. Boy, we've got our challenges. There's absolutely some struggles, but there's no place else in the world I'd rather be than right here. I just believe so strongly that this is the best place, and to never take that for granted, to always recognize again that this is an honor and a privilege to live in this country, to be active in this country, to be able to raise our kids and our grandkids in this country. But we need to be engaged at some level. So it is to be educated, to don't don't believe everything you see or hear or read. Go a little deeper and study. Not a ton of time, but enough just to understand what really is happening here, and then get out and vote, or get more engaged of helping somebody else that you believe in, that maybe shares some of your passions or your values. Go out and help them run for office. It's a tough thing. Again, I couldn't have done it without literally thousands and thousands of people that came alongside us to help, from people walking, knocking on doors, handing out yard signs, making phone calls, to we had young kids. So we had people volunteer just to help my wife with our kids while I was running for office. And that was an incredible gift. So whatever you have to offer, stay involved. Don't give up. I think those who want to destroy this country, their hope is that good people give up, that they just say, oh, you know what? It's no use. I can't have an impact. My voice doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. They win. As soon as we do that, the bad guys win. So don't do it. Stay involved. As challenging and frustrating as it can be, stay a part of it. Stay as positive as you can be, but also, never forget that we as elected officials work for you. You're the boss. We as the electorate, as the voters, are the boss of people who serve us in government. And we can't forget that. They can't forget that. So need to remind people of that.
Yeah. If I can just, while we're on topic, and I promise this is the only time I will push.
I love it.
Yeah, how do we bring people together? And what I mean is, both sides are looking at sound bites and saying you're the bad guy, and then the other side saying you're the bad guy, and it's like a non-negotiable conviction that if I'm Team Kamala Harris, you are in Team Trump, you're the bad guy, and vice versa. What is the one advice that you have for the individual to soften up their heart a little bit? And I tell people, I'm like, look, what would Jesus do, right? Soften up your heart and listen. Right. But what is your message to the people that are going to be looking at this and saying, like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, you're the bad guy, but it's you who's the bad. Like, how do we break that? Because I feel like that creates a big, huge wall where people close their ears, close their eyes, especially with an algorithmic type of world that we are living in. If I like one Donald Trump video, the rest of my newsfeed becomes favorable towards Donald Trump, and vice versa. If I like a video that says Donald Trump is a liar or whatever it may be, my whole feed becomes that. So what are we to do as the everyday average Joe and Joanne to stop that big, huge wall that really has killed the identity of the America that I fell in love with? I remember when we used to get in full heated debates, but then we drank a beer and we said, let's go to church tomorrow, and everything went well. So what happened, and how do we get it back?
Well, I think we can, and we've gone through these. I got a guy over my shoulder. I have to turn here. I don't know if you can see him or not, but Abraham Lincoln, actually a couple of guys, kind of got to show my show and tell here. So these are a couple heroes of mine. Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan. There's a guy in Stockholm, Sweden that I got to know through my dad, who's a fourth generation wood carver. So people kid me about my bobbleheads. They're not bobbleheads, they're wood carvings. Incredible talent to get a block of wood and then be able to carve somebody. But, we've got these stories of people through history who have been able to come together and say, let's at least respect each other enough to listen, to hear each other's stories, to understand each other's perspective. And together, let's find something we can agree on. One of the things that I loved, a couple of thoughts I'll just throw out quick, sorry, getting on this subject, but it's this idea of bringing people together. One thing that we started up while I was in Congress, my office did, was a thing called Common Grounds. I'm a Republican, conservative Republican, but I wanted to get things done. I felt like there was big issues that both sides could agree on. And so we had something where at least once a month, I would reach out, invite a Democratic colleague of mine to bring their entire staff to my office. We'd have coffee, we'd have donuts, we'd stand around for an hour, hour and a half, just talking, hearing each other's stories, hearing about their district, hearing about where they went to school, what are some of the issues that they're working on. One thing that I'd love to do in that was I would push my staff and that congresswoman or that congressman's staff of saying, find somebody who does something similar to what you do in that office, trade your email, your contact, your mobile number, whatever. let's find something we can do together. There's got to be something we can do together. And every single one of those common grounds meetings, we found something we could do together. One of the most memorable ones for me was had the privilege of inviting John Lewis, a very liberal Democrat from Georgia. He and I didn't agree on a lot of things. We didn't vote very similarly, but we had this beautiful time together. He and his staff just talking, meeting together, sharing ideas. And we were able to come together to accomplish some really good things on some common ideas that we shared. And, it's taken that extra step of listening, of respect, of going deeper, of hearing people's stories. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to agree with somebody 100% of the time, but if I hear their story, it's more likely I'm going to respect them, that I'm going to understand, okay, now it makes sense, why you're voting this way when I see the path that you've been on. The other thing I'll just mention quickly that a lot of people don't realize, but I wish there was more opportunity out in Congress and government just to bring people together to hear their stories. I had the privilege of being a part of something that had been going for about 70 years. It's called the National Prayer Breakfast, but it was every Thursday morning. It was the House Prayer Breakfast, and it sounds super spiritual. It really wasn't. The idea was, all of us have a faith or, some driving beliefs that bring us together. So we weren't pushing a church or anything like that. We were saying it's important to tap into the spiritual side of us, and let's hear each other's stories of what has brought you here. What are the driving forces that are most important to you? And once you hear somebody's story, it's really hard to hate them. You may disagree with them, but you understand and you respect. And so somehow we've got to get back to that point where we can hear each other's stories. We have to recognize that, there's never been more information out there than there is right now. Yeah. But be good consumers of information. Recognize that there's perspective with information, and that, if you're hearing something that feels maybe one side, see if you can find something on the other side. So don't just consume information that already agrees with your point of view. Make sure that you're getting information that is a little bit broader, just to challenge, to question, to always be growing. It's one of those things that I never want to stop learning, till the morning I die, like your father-in-law, is that who it was, who passed away? I just want to be learning and with family and with people I love, up to the very end. So hopefully all of us can do that, of these snap judgments, these, extremes, all or nothing. I don't have a relationship in my life where I get 100% of what I want. Why should I expect that in politics? Why should I expect that as an elected official, that all of a sudden I get elected and I'm going to get 100% of what I want? And I think that's, the other guy that I got over my shoulder, Ronald Reagan, one of the things he's an Illinois boy, grew up born in Tampico, grew up in Dixon, Illinois, went to Eureka College in Illinois, and then moved out to California to become a movie star, and president. But, one of the things I love about him is, there was a guy named Tip O'Neill who was Speaker of the House, and they could battle. Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill could battle, but then they could sit down, have a drink, and figure out, okay, how can we at least have some momentum, something moving forward here? And this idea, if I can get 70% of what I want, that's a good day. Yeah. That's a success. We can keep arguing over the 30%. Let's get the 70% done, because real people, real lives, real families are held in the balance here. So let's come together to be able to get something done to move it forward. So, I think bottom line is don't give up, stay engaged. This is a great country. Find the positive. I talk about it with my own kids and grandkids, this idea of being grateful. It's hard to be angry or afraid when you're grateful. When you're thinking about, this is pretty good. Not perfect, but it's good. All of a sudden, my anger lessens and my fear lessens. And unfortunately, there's a couple things that motivate people pretty extremely. Fear motivates people, but also inspiration motivates people. And one of my prayers is just that we, again, have inspirational leaders. We've had them in the past. We need them in the future. People who will inspire people to be their best, to be sacrificial, rather than only interested in themselves, thinking about how can I give back? How can I help others who need help? And it's one of the things I'm excited about our conversation today, this idea of helping people just to have the best and brightest future they can ever have.
I love it. A couple of quotes, and I'll tell you my takeaway. The very first one, Simon the Zealot was from Scripture, was sitting
Sure.
with Judas, and he said, Judas, you are very learned, but you are not wise at all. Right? Like you could have all the information that
That's
you
right.
think you know, but you lack wisdom. You need to learn new things.
That's right.
The second piece you mentioned, Ronald Reagan, one of my favorite quotes of his: America is too great for small minds. We gotta think that
That's
there
right.
is still greater things on the horizon, and we can do better, and we can definitely fix and adjust. But the biggest takeaway, my chief production officer and I have to take this note to heart, is you got to start with coffee and donuts. Did you hear that, Rich? He said we brought coffee and donuts.
That's
Yes.
right.
Long live the coffee. We
You're here. Yep. Through the stomach. Absolutely.
Yes, bring coffee, be open-minded, listen to your counterpart, understand there's always a different perspective. And if you can just get 70% of that list done, it's a major win with somebody that would not agree with you. We're going to take a little bit of a break. And after the commercial break, we're going to just give you a little bit of some highlights of what Representative Hultgren has actually sponsored and what kind of gives us an idea of who he is as or who was as a politician, who he's becoming and has been really all along in the private sector. And why is that relevant for this conversation today? We'll be right back.
Today, we embark on a journey inspired by the brilliance of none other than Albert Einstein. Einstein, a titan of science, extended his genius to the realm of finance. He famously labeled compound interest as the eighth wonder of the world, affirming its pivotal role in wealth creation. His wisdom echoes, he who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it. Introducing Solos Money Management, the bridge to democratizing financial expertise. At the heart of our approach lies the transformative power of compound interest. We're not just another financial platform, we're your partners in harnessing this powerful phenomenon to its fullest potential. Our expertise enables us to channel this force into bespoke programs tailored to propel you towards your unique financial aspirations. But what truly sets Solos apart is our commitment to inclusivity. We've shattered the barriers that once confined sophisticated financial strategies to the privileged few. Now these strategies reside at the core of the Solos platform, accessible to everyone.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ali Mehdaoui once again in the ME show. We are on season 5, and we have former Representative Randy Hultgren out of the 14th District of Illinois. I do have to say, I did a little bit of research, right? Usually it's Apple research, but this is discovery. This is good research. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I've noticed some of the bills that you've sponsored. Told me a little bit about who you are as an individual. Finance and financial sector. That tells me that, a lot of people, especially now more than ever, are hurting financially. The idea of the poverty line is something that many are experiencing right now. Unfortunately, inflation is crazy. And, it's great to see somebody who cared enough to sponsor a bill that can make an impact. International affairs, we as a country, and it's amazing to me, the United States of America is the only country that has ever done this. I mean, even after World War II, the whole European continent is flat with the Nazis. And the first thing America does, let's go and rebuild Europe. While it could have been like, hey, I'm just going to stay back here and enjoy the idea of having a monopolized economy where I am a superpower, the rest isn't. And that's fascinating. And to see that you were passionate enough to sponsor international affairs, energy, science, technology, communication, transportation, and public works, representing the everyday average person. And of course, government operations and politics. That's something that many should pay attention to. But everything that I see that you've sponsored or you're focused on had an actual personal human element instead of just business as usual or politics as usual. How does it work? Do you pick the bill that you want to sponsor based on just constituents, or is there a little bit of I'm really passionate and want to make a legacy and want to make an impact? Tell us a little bit about how you went about that from a political side, and then I'm going to dig a little bit more into where you are right now as far as the private sector and what you're passionate about.
I appreciate it. Well, I think it's all different ways. And it's one more thing I would encourage people to get involved is to get to know your elected officials. Honestly, they work for you, and you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to your member of Congress, your representatives. Sometimes senators are a little tougher to get a hold of, but still they work for you. They ought to be open to having you come and talk with them and meet with them. But certainly your state legislators, state representatives, state senators, local officials, mayors, county board members, build those relationships. So a lot of the things that I sponsored were ideas that I got from my constituents, people that had a good idea and talked to me about it, and it resonated with me, and we ran with it. Other things that just as I went through or my staff went through, we just felt like this is something that needs to be changed and to get engaged in it. A lot of times our work was trying to stop bad ideas. I live in Illinois now, and unfortunately, that's a lot of our work that I'm currently involved in is stopping bad ideas. This idea that somehow socialism has gotten a hold in a lot of places. We certainly feel it here in Illinois. That's a problem. It doesn't work. It's this idea of government solving all problems. I just don't believe it. I believe in government. I believe it needs to be limited government. I believe the power is in individuals who can direct government. And so, how do we find that balance? I don't want to completely get rid of government, but I also don't want to give them the keys to everything. So finding that balance, and I think it is engaged individuals and engaged families that keeps that check. I would hear from constituents. I would do research. I would talk to experts. I would see things that were happening, and that would spark an idea of something of, maybe we should think about doing a law here or an amendment to this. So it was all different ways, but oftentimes it was just through those conversations back in my district with people that I represented to get their ideas and then be able to run with those.
That's phenomenal. And it's fascinating because, we don't know from this side of the world, right? Unfortunately, especially, the word of the year for my partner here and I, Rich, is ignorance. A lot of people are ignorant, or they need to be educated on things, right? And unfortunately, again, you have the social media and you have the prime time media outlets that are just feeding whatever the narrative of whatever party is feeding that media outlet, if you will. One thing that I would say is things have to change. We as a nation have to evaluate other options, right? Technology is evolving more than ever before. I mean, you and I watched a debate a couple of days ago between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. And one of the things that kept on coming back was the idea of housing shortage, which increases the interest rates and inflation. And I feel like that's a residual outcome of what we've been doing for the last 20, 25 years, from how the mortgage world works, how the banking world works, how everything really is just the same old traditional way of doing things. What do you envision, especially with your background and your knowledge, as far as what can we do to innovate things? Is it in a blockchain? Is it, crypto, which is still frowned upon in some states and very adopted in others? What do you think in terms of changes that you may want to suggest, or we may consider as people, that can break this cycle of just repeated poverty or repeated struggle, if you will?
Right. Well, I think it's a great question, and it is something that I'm thinking about all the time. Just quickly, so 24 years served in elected office, but through that time, most of the time, I was had a job. When you're in Congress, unfortunately, for most things, fortunately, I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. But for me, I had to give up my work as a lawyer, working in finance, to focus on Congress, which was great. But once I finished there back in early 2019, I lost, which was disappointing, but again, was such a good thing for me and my family to have been able to serve, but also to not be serving right now and be able to focus on some other things and be able to take this passion that I have and some of the experience I have to help people. So I've done a lot of things. Some people kid me not being able to keep a job, but I'm a lawyer. I'm a financial advisor, been state rep, state senator, congressman, and also a banker, and now lead a group that helps banks across Illinois, helping them with education, helping them with dealing with government, dealing with the legal challenges and the regulators that they face. But, one of the things we think about all the time, and certainly I thought about, served on Financial Services Committee, I also served on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, that there is innovation, and innovation is good. Sometimes we have to find the right fit for it, so not every piece of information is going to be relevant in every single sector. But, if we can use advancement and innovation to make people's lives better, let's do it. That's always been part of our history, and it needs to be going forward. And there's just certain parts of our economy that just haven't had much change. I think of homeownership and the mortgage process and other things like that sort of have been stuck for the last 30, 40, 50 years, that really not much has happened as far as innovation. But if we can find ways to change the trajectory for a family, and I can't think of anything that is a better opportunity to change that trajectory than owning a home, having property. This is, in the history of our world, there's a recognition of value of property, value of
it's not a fad. It's not going anywhere.
No, absolutely not. And the other thing that, if there's a way for us to use technology, the other thing that's unique about real estate is that it has multiple values. So it has this, we own a home, and so we've got the value of that home that my wife and I have that increases every single year. We're seeing an increase in that, but we also get to live in it. So we have that use value of it. My wife and I, a couple of years ago, bought a home that was totally beat up, totally ripped apart. We were able to buy it on auction, and we were able to use our date nights as a couple to fix this home up and flip it and sell it to a young couple, the little girl. Just game changer. Literally, this house was a drug house. Now that is a great family home with the swing set in the back, that's changing people's lives. So the power of home ownership, of real estate, is incredible. The problem is there's still a big sector of our population that just can't get that opportunity because of this old way of looking at things, of looking at, credit reports and credit history and, your all the other things that play into being able to get a mortgage. That there's some people that are just left out of that and have to rent, which, again, that's a fine opportunity, but basically you're paying for somebody else's ownership of that home. So if there's ways that we can use technology, use advancement to be able to open up new opportunities for people to be able to buy a home, to live in a home, to access the dual values of a home, so that growth over time of that home, but also the value of usage of that home. I just get really excited about that. I've got some good friends that I've been able just to be a sounding board with them of hearing some of this. Solos is just a company that just is at the beginning stages, but it's just onto something of how do we open up opportunity for more people into the future to be able to truly enjoy the American dream. That I think a pivot point is ownership, owning property, owning a home, maybe owning several homes, and being able to build up that value that ultimately becomes not only a game changer for that family, but generational wealth that you can pass on to future generations. But it's one of those areas that we need to look at, how does blockchain, how does cryptocurrency, how do some of these other things out there with access to information, access to authentication of assets, of ownership, how is this going to change things? And I just know it is going to change very significantly. I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin. I think it's a great thing, but I almost feel like it's like the science project that we haven't really applied it to how is it
the nuances. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'd love to dig into this side of the conversation. I'm very proud. Obviously, I'm personally going to be bringing Solos to awesome. The masses, and just because, look, many of my audience members know you might not know Representative Hultgren, but I was homeless for 3 years in a third
Wow,
world
it's
country.
amazing.
So the idea of not having a roof over your head is a scary thing. And
Very.
now more than ever, I mean, the average rental property in the United States is over $3,600 a month right now. And this is, we're not even talking New York or the Bay Area. I mean, we're talking about, the traditional suburbs and
Right.
mid America. And that's a scary thing because the income has not gotten up as much as everything else has gotten up. So I believe what Solos and what fascinated me, and I would love to kind of get into a conversation, because with new things, there are new skepticisms. A lot of people are skeptical,
Right.
and I understand it and I welcome it. We've heard scary stories, especially you hear blockchain, crypto, it immediately triggers, right? So let's talk about the very first piece that everybody usually asks, and please help me and educate me if you can, because of your background. The idea of owning a home or having home ownership or a path towards home ownership without the traditional mortgage barriers like a credit check and income check and tax return check. Those are not necessarily as impactful factors for solos, for somebody to have the ability to become a homeowner or at least get into that dream home as they're working towards ownership. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on that, whether from a compliance standpoint or any area that you think is relevant for us to be educated on.
I'm happy to talk about it. And again, have some personal experience. Worked with the company that put together investments back in the 2007, 2008, 2009, kind of through that whole housing crash. But the reality was,
talk about trigger words. You just triggered every realtor in America.
Sorry about that. But it's the reality was there was a problem there. There were some people who, and I'm an attorney. I used to do real estate. I remember so many closings where I'd go to it where somebody would buy a home and they would borrow 125% of the value of that home. So they were walking away with a check after purchasing that home because there was this assumption, that it's always going to go up. I do believe it goes up over time, but not always in the next year or two. It's a process that happens. I still believe you look over time, nothing has been consistent of growth as real estate. It's one of the things we saw was vast majority of homes and families were continuing to pay for their homes. It's just this tiny little percentage that weren't able to, that walked away, whatever, but it affected the entire system. The confidence of the system crashed because of literally a couple percent of people. And so that's where, again, we need to have other ways of looking at, and unfortunately, credit ratings, it's important. I think about mine. I tell my kids to understand what credit means. Debt and paying on time and all that is really important. But it's just a snippet, it's just a little piece of it. So if you can dig deeper and really understanding kind of the full perspective of someone, it's a much better predictor of how they're going to do with homeownership. And I think that's where right now the current mortgage process is missing out. They're stuck in this old mindset. But there's new ways of looking at it, of really finding people who can show that they're going to be responsible homeowners, that they are doing great work of being responsible with their bills and payments and things like that, but don't necessarily fit with the credit ratings or other things that certain groups out there look at. And again, this is a sector of our economy. So many things have changed over the last 30, 40, 50 years. This is something that really hasn't, of how people get mortgages, how they purchase homes. We used to talk about it that, at a closing, it's like a book of papers that you get of all the different documents that you have to sign and disclosures and things like that. And, it's all important, but it becomes numbing to people. Is there another way for us to be able to recognize value of property, recognize that it's important for anybody who wants to be able to pursue this, that there ought to be a path, that in the next year, 2, 3, 5, that you can set up a path to be able to own a home, own property, and maximize that benefit, like we talked about, the dual value of property, of appreciation of that property and use value of property. And again, I think, I'm excited for what you're doing and others that I've met in this process that unfortunately, a lot of people have just been locked out of this, or, I get back to the politics where, there's certain people benefit when others give up. When other people say, I'm never going to be able to do that, then other people are like, all right, more for me. No, it's not true. There's always opportunity. And there's, a lot of times it is these kind of a fresh idea, something that uses technology in a way that would never have been possible in the past, that opens up opportunities for people to pursue this idea of the dream of owning property, of benefiting for property, from ultimately being able to pass on that value, if you want to future generations. That's game changer. And I'm excited about it.
You're going to hear me always somehow, some way, make my way back to scripture. The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. So there is plenty of opportunities there. For those who and what's fascinating, by the way, what I fell in love with Solos is not just for somebody who wants to just buy a house for the very first time, it's also for those who may have a home right now and are struggling with their own mortgage payments. That Solos can actually help. Same concept of, instead of refinancing and going through the same hurdles of lengthy approval processes, high credit requirements, the high interest fees and the hidden fees and the burger fees. And then, of course, you have the market barriers. All of that is absolutely removed in a compliant way that allows the world not only to save, in some cases, 30 to 50% on what you would normally pay first time or already owning a home, but at the same exact time, you're paying it at a shorter period of time. In the Solos world, it's only 15 years and you can have it all paid off. How is that possible, right? That's what the average mind is thinking. Like, what do you mean? What if this is such a thing? How come the banks aren't doing that right now for me?
It's a good question. I love banks, but they're limited to the current structure of how things are handled. The reality is, so many entities are currently involved in that process that is incredibly expensive to be able to buy and sell. So if you can narrow that and really get to the point of it. I think that's like the power of blockchain, even thinking about title, the ability to have absolute confidence of a value of a piece of property. Blockchain is incredibly powerful there. We really been tapped into being able to use that power of testing too, and bringing that confidence of title. But it's all of these different areas and levels that are part of it. Again, technology is incredibly powerful, but I still think relationships are important too. So that's the other thing that I get excited about, with some of these ideas that you've been talking about, others have been talking about, that it still recognizes the importance of someone as a guide who can walk alongside, but tap into this technology that's out there that maybe you've heard about, that it seems intriguing, but it seems scary, to kind of demystify it and say, no, this is something that is going to be a game changer for you. I really think it's, the future of bankers is going to be that guide, that there's still going to be a need always for someone to be a guide, whether it's a banker, whether it's someone in real estate, a realtor, to be that guide to help people, but tapping into the technology that can make it so much more efficient, so much quicker, and truly opening it up to a lot more people who just haven't had access in the past.
Yeah. And the other thing that is interesting to me is the fact that, and again, this is based on personal research, so we may be on point or maybe fact checked on this, but there's, out of all the money that is around the world, only 30% is actually printed cash, which a lot of people who have this idea of, well, I'm not about digital currency or cryptocurrency. Well, the reality is 70% of the money out there is exchanged from account to account digitally already. And what Solos has done, and what I appreciated, was the idea of REDs, or real estate dollars, that you can actually convert your USDD into actual non-custodial wallet, and you can leverage that to manage your finances. And it's part of the process. Whenever I get involved, and I've been very, very blessed over the last 18 years that I've been in business, I've taken 2 companies public. I've been able to do about $2 billion of sales with multiple different companies. And we've had our massive growth of business internationally, and we've had our crashes, whether it was market or economy, whatever the case may be. But one thing that I always evaluate, how is this going to create a win-win-win, specifically for the everyday average individual, because that's really the person that can drive you or pretty much kill it, right? That's why many companies think of an exit. Well, in here, I realized that the person that has a dream of owning a home, they have a path that is so crystal clear, so simple, and also transparent, that, hey, here's the money that you're going to put in, here's what it's going to equate to, and here's how you're going to be able to be on your dream home. But at the same exact time, I looked at the other token. There are millions of realtors in the United States alone, and many of them are suffering because of these very same barriers,
Right.
of the fact that the system that we have right now doesn't unfortunately help the simplicity of qualifying and getting somebody ready to go. I mean, heck, I've done extremely well. My wife and I had $250,000 sent out for a home that we wanted to buy as a down payment. And guess what? Three times, the broker would come back like, hey, we thought we were gonna, but the interest rate just changed. So we're going to have to change, and we're going to have to change, and we're going to have to try. And he kept on delaying. And it became this frustrating concept. But we were already in the process of purchase. So I can only imagine so even the realtor and or the broker, it's opening a vast golden era of closing more business, having more clientele, and bringing a lot more income to their families that they really need at this point where the economy is. So what's your perspective on the concept of REITs, or the real estate dollars, in terms of a business model itself, whether from a compliance standpoint or your vision for it in the direction that the world and the United States economy is heading?
Well, I'm still learning, and I guess I would encourage other people to learn. Study it.
Yeah.
You're seeing, how to get some more information here. But I think I look at stock markets and investments, and how when I, as just a average person, get opportunity to invest in something, boy, so many people have already taken a chunk of that before I ever even got a chance to take a look at it. And then you look at we talked about to start this conversation, how inflation has affected everybody. Certainly housing costs are so high, but all costs are so high. So if there's a way for us to tap into this natural growth of the value of real estate, I think it's like 12% or above, 15, 16% a year, when you put together both the appreciation of that real estate and the use value of that real estate. That's a lot of money. And if you can, if again, average people can get that kind of investment return, and then also get access to it, so you don't have to do a home equity loan. You don't have to go fill out 100 pieces of paper to be able to get access to use the value of your own property. You already own it. And I think that's the power of REDS, is really cutting through some of that red tape, that's currently there, allowing people to use what they've got, to use what they already have, but also be incentivized to make it better, to make it more valuable. I think that's, again, the power of real property and home ownership is I do better and my family does better if I make this more valuable. If I keep it up, if I keep it looking great, that it just is helps me. It ultimately helps me in the value of my home, but also helps me to enjoy it while I'm there. So that's what I get excited about, is new ways, new technology that allows people to access things that they just haven't had the chance to before, of this really significant return of 12, 15, 18% was something that is absolutely known. Like you said, it's the biggest part of world economies is real estate. And so to tap into that is incredibly powerful, to have regular people like you and I and others to be able to tap into that, like my mom and dad with the funeral home, to be able to tap into that. That is incredibly powerful, and it's really exciting. So I think people should research it, look into it, find out more about it. Talk to Ali, talk to others.
Talk to Ali. That's
right.
That right there. That part right there, Rich. We got to take that and turn it into a meme. Talk to Ali. I will say this: we've been, for the last, I'd say, about 2 to 3 weeks. We actually have been doing research and education on the process ourselves, because look, there's a lot of things out there. And of course, we can get into that for a whole conversation of, you look at Tom Brady and Stephen Curry and all these mega celebrities who went and fell for a scam and with the blockchain platform that ended up being totally a flop, and they had to pay $30 million fees and whatnot. So if they have the legal team and the resources around them and they fell for it, the average person, I understand the skepticism. But I'll go back to, here's another quote for you. Mahatma Gandhi said, the highest form of rejection, of ignorance, is to reject something we don't have any idea about, which comes back to, we just, like you said, do research and educate ourselves. And I promise, my dear loving listener and viewer, we're going to be doing webinars. We're going to be doing a lot more initiatives and mailing and just a whole lot to educate you so you can have the proper information. But here's what we've picked up on. Here's what most people either care about or say, if you can take care of this, you'll make my dreams come true. And there were 4 pieces. Number one, a lower cost compared to traditional mortgage. That was the very first thing I realized. Look, I can't do $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 while I'm barely making $70,000 a year, right? The credit history, especially over the last couple of years since COVID, a lot of people are still trying to recover from the financial hurt that the country has gone through. A faster approval process. I can speak on that. It took 7 months and 3 brokers and repeated processes and more money into a down payment to be frustrated with the whole system itself. So a lot of people are like, hey, show me how I can get it done. Show me now and let me just move forward, because it could be a stressful process. And last but not least, transparency and pricing with no hidden fees. And a lot of time, including myself, I'm like, hey, what is that? Oh, yeah, that's the mortgage broker fee. And what is that? That's another fee and another fee and another fee and another fee. So I think what Solos has put in terms of conviction for me, myself, and I, for my wife and I, is the ability to dream again that, oh, my God, we can actually make an impact. This is what I would call a legacy play. And, I appreciate you really taking the time on kind of like just giving us your perspective. Especially you've seen a thing or two on the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to financial processes and operations out there.
Absolutely. And I will just say, I've been watching this kind of from a distance over the last couple of years, the developments here, and just believe so strongly that we're right on. This is like tip of the iceberg of opportunity, something that is going to open up so much for so many people. I feel like a lot of the things that we've already seen have just missed, of other things out there, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin, whether these other things out there are pointing to the power, but not making it relevant to you and I. And so how do you take these incredibly powerful technologies and make it relevant to lift people up? It's one of the things that Abraham Lincoln, I'm most proud of him. And I think others have had this idea of, really what America is about is this right to rise, that it's not guaranteed. It's still up to us, but it's this idea that if I'm committed, if I'm willing to pour myself into it, I've got this opportunity to lift my position for myself and my family and my future. And it's something, your story is all about that, of this idea of the right to rise, not guaranteed. You've seen it, that there's bumps, there's trips, but if we can find tools and avenues and really great people, and I see it behind Solos, some incredibly smart people, some of the smartest people I've ever met, who are passionate about helping people truly achieve their dreams. That's exciting. And you can't, like you said, you just can't let an opportunity go like that. You need to research it. You need to look into it. You need to understand it. And you need to see, what does this mean to me? And Ali, that's what I'm excited about, what you're doing.
Same here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, if you are in today's challenging housing market, of course, we want to actually give you an opportunity to allow us to help you. There is no commitment. There is nothing that you're signing up for. But in the comments or in a copy of this audio and or video that you're watching and or listening to right now, I'm going to put a couple of links. And some of them may be just a survey to give us an idea of who you are. You may be a first-time dreamer that wants to have financial freedom. You might be be somebody who wants to purchase a home. You may be somebody who wants to actually create a legacy and make sure that you're creating generational wealth. You may be a realtor who keeps getting the frustrated, oh my God, I can't get anybody qualified. Or you may be a broker that you are looking for alternatives and options for your market, whichever that you may be. Make sure that you click on the link that is associated with this episode. And of course, we'd love nothing more but to help you out. One of our team members will reach out to you. We do not do mass mailing, or we don't do any targeted autoresponders. We literally are real human beings who are going to reach out to you, because what Solos is doing for me, it's giving me the ability to dream again. See, as a kid that was born and raised in a third world country, who came to the United States after being homeless for 3 years and saying, me no English, who was a busboy and a dishwasher in a restaurant. Until this day, many of the people who have known me from 22 years ago would see me in the street or wherever we bump heads and cross path, and they're like, Ali the bus boy, what's going on, my man? That was literally my nickname, and it still is. What Solos is doing for me, it's allowing me to clean up a whole different kind of mess. It's just a financial one nowadays. So I am so excited and privileged. We're going to take a quick final break, and we're going to come back with Representative Hultgren for some final remarks. We'll be right back.
What we present today isn't just a toolbox of financial instruments, it's a transformative journey towards financial empowerment. Let Einstein's wisdom guide you as you harness the force of compound interest, navigate strategically designed programs, and leverage innovative financial mechanisms to script your own narrative of prosperity. Welcome to Solos Money Management, where your financial journey is as brilliant as your aspiration.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's just say we have had a phenomenal conversation. I am actually extremely grateful, because usually when we do talk to somebody who has an experience in politics, they tend to be very agenda motivated. This gentleman has been very core values motivated, and I cannot thank you enough, because you've given me enough confidence that America is stronger than ever, that we, the people, are still able to have conversations, and we are still here dreaming and thinking legacy, even if you are on your second career, if you will, on your private sector career right now. I would like to give you an opportunity to address the everyday average person on anything that you feel is relevant to you, in terms of if you can be somebody's big brother right now, or somebody's uncle right now, or somebody's friend right now, and they are struggling. And you and I both know that there are a lot of people struggling right now, people who have lost hope. What is your message? What is your advice? What anything that you want to leave the individuals that we're talking to right now with? What would that be?
Yeah, it is. Again, this is a wonderful country. It really is. It's challenging days, but wonderful days to be alive. And just this idea of gratitude, being grateful for all that we've been given, that as we grab onto that, so many good things happen, to find hope, but also just to recognize that you don't have to do it alone. I love it, Ali, as you were talking about it, that, this isn't some computer generated algorithm thing that's going to send. No, these are people that just want to help people. And that's what I've seen all through this. The relationships that I built is people who have understand technology, understand where things are going, recognizing that, boy, this is something that should have changed before now, but hasn't. And now is the perfect time to open up this opportunity for everybody to share in this American dream of owning a home, of benefiting from property ownership, to be able to live with that benefit and not have to be beholden to other people to be able to do it. But still, it's even the idea in the name of Solos. It's this idea of individuals together. We're stronger together, but we still have ultimate individual responsibility. I think it's a really powerful concept. So I would just encourage people, take a look. Do some research. Don't just let this slip away. Reach out, get some help, get some ideas. And, if you're struggling with hope, boy, there's a lot of people out there who'd love to come alongside and show you that we have so much to live for. We do have this opportunity to leave a legacy, certainly for those around us and our family and future generations, just like so many have done for us to be able to get to this point. So never give up, stay engaged, keep learning, and recognize that by locking arms, we're stronger together. All of these individuals coming together to lock arms, there's incredible power, whether it's in politics, whether it's in communities, whether it's in our future, all of that, we're better together. So never forget that.
Amazing words from an amazing man, and I am so grateful. And I'm praying to God that I have an opportunity to earn your friendship and collaborate in many personal and business ways as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we are really, really grateful for your time. Please get educated. Please ask proper questions. Look, skepticism is good. Skepticism tells you be careful, there's an edge. But what is not good is ignorance. And ignorance doesn't mean that you're dumb or stupid. No, ignorance means that you don't have the information. See, I am ignorant when it comes to space, to outer space. I'm not an astronaut. I'm ignorant. That means I need to be educated. So we want to welcome you to be educated. Make sure that you visit SolosFi.com, SolosFi.com. Make sure that you click on the links that I'm going to be putting with this episode that is giving you the ability to kind of see where do you fit. Are you somebody who wants to buy a home? Are you somebody who wants to get financial freedom? Are you somebody who wants to retire? Are you somebody who wants to be a realtor? Are you somebody who wants to be a broker? Make sure that you engage in this conversation, because what if you can be in your dream home in the next 6 months to a year? What if you can eliminate those extremely high costs of living that you're dealing with right now? What if you can pay off your property within the next 10, 15 years instead of 30 years traditional ways? What if you can save 30 to 50% versus your traditional mortgage? What if you can put yourself in a position where you too can live the dream, the American dream of saying, I own a home? I am privileged. I'm grateful that God has blessed me with every single thing, including the struggles and the sorrows that I've experienced. They were part of the journey. That's what makes me who I am. I welcome you now to take a look in the mirror and say that I am able, I am deserving, and I am capable, and allow us here at Solos. I love that name. Solos means individual if it doesn't have the plural S. Solo, like in Spanish, individual, alone, one. But Solos, individually together. We are one unit. And I want to welcome you to consider this initiative, get educated, and see for yourself if you too can take advantage. I will be doing webinars. I will be doing programs. I will be doing shows. I will have more guests on this very same element. And I'm just so grateful for Representative Hultgren for taking that time out of his life, personal time, and of course his professional time as well. Just give us a little bit of his perspective, especially with his expertise. So with that, we thank and appreciate you. And until next time, Representative Hultgren, do me a favor, tell him peace out, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Ali. So good to be with you.
Take care.
Have you heard about SolosFi.com? It's revolutionizing the way realtors get their clients in their dream homes faster and for less.
No, I haven't. What makes it so special for real estate professionals?
Well, SolosFi.com offers making home ownership more affordable. 30 to 50% less than traditional mortgages. Same home, just more affordable.
That sounds incredibly useful. How hard is it to qualify their clients?
Absolutely easy. The dream of owning a home has become increasingly challenging in today's economy. That's why they introduced Solosphere Properties, a groundbreaking solution designed to transform the real estate landscape, making home ownership more attainable for everyone.
Wow, I definitely need to have my realtor check out SolosFi.com. It seems like it could really get us our dream home faster and for less.